Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We're today for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix and we've got qualifying just at the end of its stages now. We've got Terence in P2 looking to go once more. It's Elwain on 2-lap old tyres and they've put it into the gravel. That is qualifying done. P3 or lower it will be for the Red Bull driver. Currently P1 in the Drivers' Championship, being hunted down by Terence and Yanaldi as well, who's currently topping the times of 14.720. They set that lap a little bit earlier on. Terence is going to try and beat that one once more. But they're going for a second lap here, warming up the tyres just a little bit extra to make sure that that grip is to its maximum. We've got Jericho Willis, the higher tier driver. They'll be starting at the back of the pack, and the rest of the field fall in line behind. Terence rounds the final corner, and then they begin their lap, but we will see Elwain cross the line. It's going to be Daft Penguin up next. Let's watch and see what Terence can do in the first few corners though. Hard braking onto the curb, trying to set up the second corner to help you with the third. Now we come into the second chicane, high speed 6 and 7 as you downshift just to get that engine brake and to slow you down a little bit further. They do manage to get that one through quite nicely, and up through 10 or through 9 and 10, speeding down the hill once more. And how's it going to look when we go over the delta line? Once we go back up the hill here, can they keep it within track limits? Or in a straight line as well? That's a good point. Across the delta line, it's going to be half a tenth improvement. It could be enough here. They've got one more sector to try and compete for that pole position. Yanaldi's going to try and take it as well. What can they do for their qualifying time? Yanaldi improves to 0.5 of a second. Terence around the final corner. Here comes the driver from Hong Kong up to the line. Oh, right on the limit of 14.582. Absolutely incredible, but Terence steals it away. A 0.501. Absolutely amazing. What a qualifying session there. And Yellowet got a purple time for a second, but it was just a visual bug as they set exactly the same lap time as Yanaldi. But because they set it second, they end up just behind. Incredible. There in qualifying, it's Terence, Yanaldi and Yellowek in the top three. The race director is on your screen right now. And then we go for the race. With a qualifying like that, I don't know what to expect. Just absolutely awesome. Here we go. A brilliant qualifying setup us up for this race. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Terence on the outside line, and it's a brilliant launch, if not perfect. The Yanaldi won't be able to get there, but it's Elway who jumps Yellowek off the line, has the inside line, and looks to make it a 1-2 already. Absolutely phenomenal. Elway really knows what's at stake here, the championship title. Brilliant stuff there. And Yellowek, I don't know what quite happened, but they just lost a lot off the line. Oh, Elway has spoken too soon. They've got too much confidence, and now they risk falling down the order once more. Yanaldi, no gravel on their tyres, but they still just weren't able to get the advantage. It only gives the advantage to Terence, who's now 2 seconds in front of everybody, and we're not even done with the first 2 sectors of the race, let alone the first lap. Absolutely spectacular stuff right there. We're going to have a quick look and see what the tyres are looking like. That should give us a bit of a better explanation of what is going on in the race. Cravato sitting right behind Simon S. Then we've got the Mercedes of Charlie being followed closely by Jericho Willis. Darth Playing Green just dropping a bit further behind. It is going to be Jericho Willis looking to the inside, but they don't quite get there. Yanaldi will have the first attack at Elwayne, but I don't think we're going to see a move, as DRS is not available just yet, as Jericho Willis was able to make that move on Charlie, who drops behind. Maybe a mistake there as they go down the order. There's a marker board off, there's damage, and there's another big off moment there, as what on earth was going on? Unfortunately, Charlie's down the order, and with damage, it's going to be a tricky race for them. Hard tyres for Yanaldi and Elwayne, also Jericho Willis, so they're going to be looking at a very different strategy. Now, Terence's pace is expected, maybe not to this level. I think they were very good with their start, relative especially to their teammates and the rest of the pack. So, yes, Terence has gained a lot more time than I would have expected as being on the softer compound tyre. But they cannot take it for granted because it's going to be crucial later on. And these guys will catch up. That's Elwayne and Yanaldi will have the opportunity. And actually as well, Yellowek, although being on the medium yellow wall tyre, they will also be able to gain because they'll be stuck in the DRS of the cars in front of them, who will eventually get faster. For sure, Yellowek doesn't have the ability to exceed the medium tyre expectations, but considering they are 7/10 away, I don't think they're being held up right now by the hard tyre runners. The consistency of that white wall tyre is very, very good. That's a 10-second time penalty for Charlie, who retires on lap 3. Actually, lap 2 for them when they came into the pit lane. A shame to see such an early retirement, but they have made their decision, and that's how it's gone. Terence now leads by 3.6 seconds on this tyre, and we'll watch that gap closely because it could change, and once we see it change, we'll know that's where the tyre cliff is, although Terence is very good at managing his tyres, so maybe we'll just take away a couple of laps from that. That will give us a better idea of when the other cars should also be making their pit stops from the hard compound. Jericho Willis and Simon switch positions. I don't know if that was on the brakes or not, but they've got the job done. And Cravato is the next target, as they can see the other cars in their trio just up in front. Could we see Yanaldi look for a move as they go to the right hand side, a wheel in the grass also to get the job done. They do eventually get there, and they don't find themselves going off the circuit, but that is a hell of a slingshot they would have just gained, and although only really maintaining the gap, they prevented any loss on that straight to Terence. But then of course the corners come along, and Terence just continues to bring that gap up and up and up. Jericho Willis, they've got some experience from yesterday that they can take into this race. They're also a higher tier driver, so there is a different point system on the line for them. here comes the move. Jericho Willis is going to look down the DRS straight, deploy that battery, and try and get the shot off in one go. DRS is there. ERS is being blasted, and the move is going to be well before the next corner, and takes a very wide berth to get that job done as well. Really making sure they're as safe as possible whilst going for that manoeuvre. And they carry on through, and now they try and make some progress on the cars in front on this hard tyre as well. Terence begins to lose some time to the cars behind them, so that tyre switch has already possibly happened. But also keep in mind, unfortunately, if someone else makes a mistake, do they have damage? That's the question that we're looking to answer. But what I wanted to say is, we should be aware that there could be some rain. Oh, okay. That's very frustrating, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a safety car, so we've got away with that one. Very lucky to not be badly affected from such an action. I do apologise everybody for that, but luckily we'll continue. And continue racing. Well, these two here. The yellow not too far away, but Terence has definitely started to lose a bit of pace. Not a massive amount. The gap's kind of fluctuating for a bit. But then it is definitely on the decline and not so much on the incline. Now, came a little bit earlier than I thought it would in regards to the switch on the tyre wear. Jericho Willis looks to join this party as Yellowek drops away from DRS, but the attack is very much on. Yanordi powers through, and Elwain not in any rush to really fight that one, quite possibly looking at working together to catch Terence, which is very effective right now. 2.9 seconds, visually a lot closer as well. You can see that gain that they have just made. Yellowek in P4, and then Jericho Willis is in P5. And actually, the guy that I raced in this game and worked together just like Yanordi and Elwain are doing. So he will know the assignment very well and make sure that he has the least impact possible in everybody's race whilst they try and charge through P1 on the grid. Jericho Willis, the F1.5 champion from a few seasons ago now. Time does fly. It's another yellow, unfortunately, as Darth Penguin goes slowly on the exit of the hill. Do a bit of right end plate damage. That's going to be a tricky one, but they will be gaining some good experience regardless. Rivato 5 seconds behind this pack. They are very quick, I will say that for sure, so they can't be too disheartened. There is Jericho Willis on the inside line as they now try to charge through to P3 and 2. Yellowek might be able to gain from this because they could find themselves holding on and then maybe get that DRS, although Jericho Willis, no slouch, and on the hard compound tyre. Not going to be an easy task when you're 8/10 through the mid part of the lap. And that is a time penalty already for Yellowek, 3 seconds to their name. Oh, that was one hell of a corner cut there on the entry to the chicane. I think they've just missed out. Jericho Willis pushing with all their might to catch up. They've got no battery left, but I think they did it. They have got the job done. Let's watch that rear wing. Will it open? Oh, and it won't. Oh, it will. They've just got it. I was a bit too early on determining whether we'd cross that line. There's Darth Penguin getting a 3 second. There's Wayne getting to P2. Would you believe it? Terence has brought back the gap. 8 laps into this race, or onto this tyre, 9 laps into this race. And Terence has brought the brought the gap back up. As we just quickly check in and see how the race leader is doing. Currently with a decent chunk of battery, managing it well, not using the usual livery, usually running the Japan inspired livery, but this time not having it enabled. Going back to a classic Red Bull, doesn't seem to be affecting their performance too much. Wayne has managed to gain about half a second in half a lap. The tyres are definitely down there. Wayne does have the advantage. Minaldi not going to be able to go for the move this time around. They'll just have to wait. And then Jericho Willis just watching the train of cars in front. Yellowek has dropped back a bit from this battle. But it doesn't mean they can't do something in this race. Gravato in P6. On the medium tyre as well, looking to make that pit stop soon. Darth Penguin diving into the pit lane in P7. Terence now 2.9 seconds in front. The gap is kind of stable, but also not. There's clearly pace from the cars behind, but it's just on the limit. Will we see a move here from Rinaldi? I think it is now time to get some sort of overtake from the Aston. They'll have that DRS and they look very close. They get a decent exit as well, so that move should definitely be on. The batteries off for the Red Bull driver. Jericho Willis is going to try and follow the Aston through. They will tuck in, and they will get there. That is cheekily snuck in there by Jericho Willis. Elwain sees what's going on. They didn't want to risk any kind of collision, I think, but they probably also realised that Jericho Willis is a higher tier driver. There's no point in risking that. So they've just got to be patient, and Jericho will then try and pass Rinaldi very soon. Interesting calls for the wet weather situation in the chat. Are we going to see the rain come in on lap 22 of this race? If that's the case, then the hard tyre runners might be able to make lap 22, but I think really a medium tyre would be better because you're looking at a double medium. But will the rain actually ever come in? And that is Terence into the pit lane. No. Terence, yes, into the pit lane. And there leads Jericho Willis. Rinaldi just for a brief moment. I was all confused about that because there was the other Aston Martin of Darth Penguin just up in front. But that is not the lead pack. Jericho Willis now leads on lap 12 out of 32. And Terence is going to come out in clean air. And they've gone for a very early stop onto the hard tyre. So completely ignoring exactly what I've just said. Cravato does the same thing just a lap previous. And either they're expecting no safety car, no wet weather, or it's going to be so late on that it might not be a problem. Linaldi is not too far away from Jericho Willis, I have to say. The DRS is going to help them out to defend from Elwain, who's dropped out of DRS as well. So actually not to defend, but to gain on Elwain. A mistake there possibly has prevented the Brit from catching any more. Although that being said, they've used a lot of battery to gain on that. The Aston Martin of Darth Penguin off in the background. No safety car will be deployed as they just went into the gravel track. That was very impressive, I have to say, from Elwain to stay within DRS range for the time that they did, despite not having DRS. Unless they maybe did and we just didn't see it before the detection point. I'm not entirely sure. But Elwain sat in that P3 spot. 1 second outside. And we've got Rinaldi also on the limit, trying to get that DRS range, but that was a phenomenal chicane that Jericho Willis just pulled off and gained everything back, but the ERS is being used by the Aston Martin. They gained half a second on that mini straight to bring them back into DRS range, and they're only going to extend more from Elwain. That is exactly how you use battery. Perfect stuff there using the ERS. And Elwain's really got a bit of a struggle, a massive headache. No battery themselves to deploy. And using the higher tier driver as a tool. Rinaldi has been very effective in the racing here. That's Darth Penguin retiring in the pit lane. Second retirement in the pit lane. Third voluntary retirement of this race. Cravato now P5 at the back of the pack, but they do have Yellow at just 5.5 seconds ahead. And they're both on equal time penalties. So this is a race that can still happen between these two guys. We're still yet to see the top three pit. It's Terence on their own at the moment, driving time trial laps, trying to get these tyres in temperature as early as possible and hope that the rain doesn't come around too much, because that undercut could be very effective for them. They were about 2.9 seconds ahead before they pitted, and we'll see what that changes to a little bit later on. DRS continues to be gained by Rinaldi, and that's going to help them gain on Terence, and look at how much time it's gained them on Elwain, who's just not found the momentum, maybe made a few mistakes as they continue to push to try and compensate for the loss of the DRS that's been available for their rival on track. So now looking at where Rinaldi was, the farthest F1.5 driver in front right now as it stands, but they will get that assistance from Jericho Willis. Once again sending it over the chicane, but using the battery as well. Rinaldi's had a phenomenal final sector once more. Really seems to be their part of the circuit. And there's the battery being deployed again. They'll continue to gain, and that's an entire second on Elwain in that last lap. And that can't be all DRS and ERS. That's got to be some pretty good performance from the Aston Martin. Just a straight line section there with DRS is a bit of extra performance. Terrence 10.5 seconds away. Elwain just really severely dropping pace. Can't seem to keep the car in a straight line consistently. Those tyres are done. A very twitchy Red Bull they've got underneath them. They've got to be careful that they don't find themselves twitching over track limits. But yep, they're struggling to catch the cars in front, and they're losing a massive amount of time to Terrence just behind. Not quite in view yet. You can see them in the background now if you look closely. Terrence will be on the hunt, and these tyres are so much quicker right now. And we'll look at what the lap time is. For the Red Bull driver of 18.1, so not the fastest lap. Still pretty good going. Jericho Willis up in front, lap 17 out of 32. And we're still thinking about the rain possibly coming along. It's not impossible. From the information we have, our best bet is lap 22 that the rain could hit. But it is approximate weather, so we just don't know when it will happen. Unfortunately, I've already forgotten what the lap time was from Terrence earlier on. But luckily, they'll be completing another lap. And we'll get to see what their next lap time is. So, crossing the line, it will be Yanoli. Watch that top right lap time. It's going to be a 20.7 versus Terrence. And actually 20.9. We're going to see a 18.7. So going 2 seconds a lap quicker than Yanoldi is Terrence right now. That's very impressive. 2.2 seconds a lap quicker than their teammate. And that's just how beneficial these tyres are, but that's also currently 6 laps more than the rest of the field. Going to be about 7 laps more than the rest of the field if they go into the pit lane now. I say rest of the field, the cars in front of them at this stage. And if we're seeing this much of an advantage from fresh tyres, then this could be crucial. Has Terrence pitted too early in this race? Obviously, they did start this race on the alternate compound, so we do have to keep that in mind. But we may have a couple of drivers waiting for the rain, and we may have a couple of drivers going as far as they can to give themselves the best chance. On the medium tyre, that's another 3 seconds for Yellowick, unfortunately. If we consider Terrence's pit stop, we'll expect a few drivers to pit on lap 20 to go 12 laps on a set of mediums. But I'm thinking lap 21, 22 will be the pit window for a few hard tyre runners. So 20 to 22, let's say. We could see a pit stop, maybe even on this lap, from a few drivers, if we're lucky. Terrence catching up to their teammate. Now 1.6 seconds, and according to the delta that we've seen, we could see Terrence catching up to the back of their teammate in about half a lap's time. And then looking for that move. There's the rain. There is the rain. The drops are coming in. It's not wet just yet. It's not quite the correct time to pit. But the drops are falling. Terrence is P4. And they're all going to have to make another pit stop. How devastating would this be? From such a dominant performance in the early stages. Oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Elwain's gone too early. They've dove into the pit lane. And I can only assume they're going to go for a set of intermediates. And unless we get the call from the game that it's going to be DRS disabled, that is going to be too early of a pit stop. They've got about a lap, maybe half a lap grace period where that intermediate tyre can work in dry conditions. But it's not going to be for long. We'll see Yellowek zoom past the Red Bull car, who just leaves the pit lane. And that intermediate is still a little bit too soon, in my opinion. The grip's going to be there here, and it's going to be there up until, I think, the hairpin, and then it will drop away. And you can see it's not actually that efficient regardless. But now that tyre is going to get incredibly hot, and they can keep it in a straight line quite comfortably for now. But it's only going to be a couple of corners where we see some visual struggle? Visible struggle. I'm not having a good day with my words today, am I? We see Yanaldi into the pit lane as well. And I think that's once more another pit stop that's a bit too early. Yellowek sits in P4. Yanaldi will stay ahead of the pole. Just about, I think. They are going to try and dive down the inside. They've got the warmer tyres. They've got the grip. That's well spotted. That is Yellowek to P3. I did not expect that to be the case, but they gave it their everything, sent it hard, and it's worked out. How much longer, though, is this tyre going to be lasting? Because it's only going to get wetter and wetter. Jericho Willis, actually, as well. Look at this, 20 lap old hard tyres. Those are just some dead tyres with a little bit of water on them as well, but they're still not pitting yet. 7.5 seconds ahead of Terence, who isn't going to have any struggles for tyre wear, but they've still got to make that call on the pit stop section. Now Yanaldi is right there behind Yellowek, and we'll see how this battle turns out, because DRS is still available. DRS still very much available, and they will try and challenge for the move in these tricky, slippy conditions. There's a bit of a lag spike, and there goes Yellowek just down behind. And that is possibly the last DRS overtake we'll see of this race if it continues to get wetter and wetter here. A crucial move. But the intermediate was able to make that overtake no problem. Now, can Elwain catch up to Yellowek and prove to us that the intermediate is really the quicker tyre? It looks like they can. But is Yanaldi catching up to Terence? That's the question. And Terence has got a direct comparison. So does Jericho Willis really as well. Everybody has. And it is Terence into the pit lane. They can see that Yanaldi is catching slightly. It is worth going into the pit lane. It's one extra pit stop that Terence has got to make now because of starting on that alternate tyre. But would you believe it? Looking at the performance gained from Terence and everywhere else on the circuit, I reckon they might come out in front regardless. Jericho Willis definitely will be coming out in the lead. It's going to be Yanaldi who just jumps in front. It's going to be Terence who scrambles out of the pit lane. But they're going to stay in front of their teammate. And they will continue to be the lead Red Bull driver of this race. And that is a very cold looking intermediate tyre right there from from Elwain. As we saw, Egapro had the opposite way round struggle. They had some cold tyres in damp conditions. We see Elwain with hot tyres in wet conditions. Yellowek onto that intermediate compound now. It's Cravato back into the pit lane again. As we were expecting that to be not the case, and Yellowek and Cravato would have a battle once more, but it wasn't quite the case. Jericho Willis 1.6 seconds in front of Yanaldi after that pit stop section. These guys very much in their own race as well, although they don't score the same point system. Elwain half a second away from their teammate. Terence 3.4 seconds with a brilliant pole position and trying to maintain their glory. But Yanaldi wasn't too far away from it in the end. They currently have that 3-second margin. Terence has been very quick and consistent in this race. Not really been contested so far at all. Elwain having a disaster class on this compound. There is no grip, as you can see, all over the place. The championship leader just can't seem to catch the grip. Not a break, but the grip. Dancing through the hairpin is still having to correct. Tricky conditions, you can't blame them for it. And I believe we still may have DRS enabled here in Imola, despite that rain that's falling and getting worse as we continue. It seems to be a little bit harder than it was earlier as well. The rain. 1.7 seconds. Jericho Willis is having a bit of a challenge with Yanaldi. There is the DRS enabled though. It's officially time for the wet tyres. Everyone's on it anyway. But that wet tyre is going to be optimal. And Terence is 2.0 seconds away. They are closing in on the Dutchman in front. But they do have to try and make the overtake on the Aston Martin. And in wet conditions, that is never going to be easy. In the final sector once more, we see Yanaldi gain a lot of time, but Jericho Willis gains it all back in the first and middle part. Now, could that be a gift here for Yanaldi? The final sector seems to be the strongest. If Terence wants to try and overtake, it's going to have to be into turn 1. If they don't have a strong final sector, as Yanaldi does, then they might not be able to pull off a move in the wet conditions. Got 25 out of 32. We're in the closing stages of this Grand Prix already. It's flown by. Terence 1.5 seconds away from victory in the F1.5 EU Championship here in Imola. Jericho Willis, a higher tier driver, they score a different point system to the rest of the field. It's crunch time. They've got to try and give themselves the best chance. You can't just overtake on the final lap. It's not that simple. It's wet conditions. You have to give yourself time, momentum, and put the pressure on the car in front. Force them into a mistake. That's how you get overtakes done in the rain. But there's about half a second that's still giving Yanaldi confidence in this race to stay in front. A brilliant chicane there from Terence gains them a tenth alone. They come into the hairpin, like a little bit late, but still manage to keep that slightly wider line, also known as the wet line or the karting line. And it just allows them to carry some momentum and grip up through the hill though. Didn't quite nail it correctly. And there is a decent few corners to gain Yanaldi 0.3 of a second back. Jericho Willis about to round the final corner to start lap 27 out of 32. And all the way to the track limit there is Yanaldi, not leaving anything on the line. Terence pulls in a nice few final corners to regain what they had lost a few corners ago. Almost within 1 second. Pressure territory is on. Terence continues, and they're doing the first half of the job at getting an overtake done. It's looked like they've had the ability to win all weekend. And it now comes down to the final 10 minutes to decide whether that is going to be true or not. Starting on the suboptimal tyre for the conditions that they couldn't have necessarily predicted perfectly. The strategy could have gone any way, but they've been determined to not allow it affect them as they hunt for exactly the same result, just with a little bit more to the challenge than expected. Yanaldi, after a start that looked bleak. Not really. It didn't look bleak at all. They were still competing up front, and they had a tyre that they thought that they could bring into this one later. And they have done so. They've done everything right. But there's still a threat. It wasn't guaranteed that they would be back into P1. Yanaldi 7 tenths in front. Elwain not able to join this battle, just seeming to struggle in the wet conditions since and not found their groove. Jericho Willis runs away in the distance. There's battery in the Red Bull, but no overtaking range available. They've really got to get as close as possible, making a bit of a mistake as they try to push the limit now on the throttle. Twitchy as ever, the nerves kick in, and Yanaldi nails a few corners. Absolutely nailed them. I think Terence was going for a better exit, which is the right thing to do, but Yanaldi got a good entry and a good exit. Yellowek 32 seconds away, but once again tricky conditions that they've got to deal with today. I think the experience is invaluable, and they were competing up front for pole position, so they can take that as a very good thing. Cravato in P6 once again, gaining good experience. These guys gaining the experience, but also racing side by side in the highest pressure moments you can get, fighting for a victory in a league race. What a feeling. What a feeling it is, especially if it's fair, especially if you cross the line in first. That's what the stake is for Yanaldi right now. Terence wants to snatch it away. They've got 3 laps to get the job done. But time is running out very much, and Yanaldi is looking ever more likely to take this victory. Oh, and Terence, you can see how much it means. On the exit of the 3rd corner, flying absolutely flying, borderline crashing the car to try and gain any advantage. The racing lines are different as they travel through the hairpin, exploring with everything they can, almost taking it to the grass. And they just don't want to give in. Down the hill goes the Dutchman. Staying away from the entry curb, almost getting a tank slapper on. Did they make it to the corner? They do. Terence will see that. And they know that they can get the job done. If they just nail one exit, deploy the battery correctly. Oh, those track limits. Entering the chicane looked risky and exiting just as much. The final two corners on lap 30 will determine a 31 overtake. Can they get it done? Squirming on the exit of that final corner. Did they get the power down? Are they using the battery? They are very much so, but Yanaldi responds with the battery too. Half it. And now on 50%. Oh, a mistake there for Yanaldi, but also a bit of an oversteering moment there. Oh, here we go. Can Terence take their opportunity? They know that they're limited. They look for the switchback. Oh, it's perfectly blocked off. They still have a door wide open, and they do go late on the brakes. There's contact between the two. These guys collide as they once did back in Singapore. Terence not going to be happy, but they still find more opportunity. Oh, what an opportunity to go for it there, but it's never going to work. Wow, Yanaldi fighting for dear life. Some brilliant stuff here. Terence just trying to keep it in a straight line, but still get earlier on the throttle. Oh, almost going into the back of Yanaldi there. A perfect chicane this time around. They might even try and go for the move into the final corner. Into the penultimate corner. Dipping the wheel on the gravel. There's contact between the two. They look to the inside. They back off. Yanaldi sending it a bit too hard. Here we go. Starting the final lap of the Grand Prix. Terence tucks in behind, uses what they can of the battery. These guys are neck and neck. Who's going to have it by the end of the first corner? It's going to be Yanaldi, but we've just seen last lap. It's all the way to the line that makes the difference in the wet conditions. Oh, and Terence has made that mistake. That could be it. That could be it. Tenths of a second lost, but it could be enough to maintain that position. This time last lap, Terence was on the attack in the mid part of the lap, but they just can't get there now, and that rear end is not getting any easier. 2 laps to our advantage, but track position is king in the wet. Jericho Willis has demonstrated a brilliant race today from the back to the front, and they will take the win here overall. But for the F1.5 EU Championship, it's not quite decided just yet until we cross that line. Yanaldi sits in P2, P1 for the F1.5 drivers, and they still got to make sure that they don't make a mistake in these final couple of corners down the hill, trying to not lock those front tyres, as it's so easy to do. Coast it through. Oh, and Terence pushing the limit, gets a time penalty. It doesn't matter in the end. Yanaldi will win once again. Yanaldi wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. It's Terence in P3. And it's Elwain who will sit behind. They won't capitalise on Terence's time penalty, but what a race we've just witnessed. Absolutely awesome stuff here today. A small grid doesn't mean a bad race. It means a more focused battle, and it was worth the watch. Yellowek in P5 will finish this race. I don't think any damage. In conditions like this, you can be proud of that. And Cravato, the same. Jericho Willis also going to be proud of their drive. But Yanaldi is the one who got the job done. I think the hearts were won by Terence, who did everything they could to get back what they had from the beginning of the race, the lead. But it just wasn't enough. And Yinodi takes another Grand Prix victory to try and bring down the championship gap. It is Jericho Willis who takes victory in Imola. It's Yinodi in P2, and then we've got Terence, Elwain, Yellowek, Gravato, and DNFing. Earlier on was Daft Penguin, Simon S, and Crazy Charlie Bear. The race director is on your screen. We scroll through, and then we will go through the pit stop section. We will get the results, and we will be back in a bit for the post-race interviews. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Imola Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race. Absolutely incredible. The conditions were tricky. They were exactly the same as yesterday, but just flipped on their head. Absolutely awesome. We start with you, Terence. Performance at the beginning, that was just absolutely perfect. Do you think you pitted or you started the race on the wrong tyre? Do you think it was still the right tyre? And what do you think happened at the end there what didn't allow you to get that move done?
Performance-wise, I was very pleased with what I have done. I think kind of ridiculous, although I got a 3 second at the end, as I want to try to do something, but it didn't work. I know that I was in a high downforce, so actually I was praying no rain there, but yeah, it did. So yeah, well done to Yinaldi, well done to Airwing to finish off the podium, and of course well done to Jericho for his win here from P9. I think, yeah, it's just an extra stop cost me the win, because I just know, it could ring about 30 minutes, stuff on 30 minutes, and of course the weather is approximate, so we didn't I didn't confirm so yet. And obviously, if we look back, the hard tire at first stint is definitely the right choice. So I pit 2 laps earlier than the original dry plan. So to see if I can make use of that 2 earlier laps to maybe do some undercuts or whatsoever. Results wise, P2 I can't do anything better than that. Maybe P1 if Yanadi do more mistakes. I mean, I try very hard. I spot his mistakes and then I go on. But eventually, because I was on the outside, it's always a little bit risky if I want to overtake around the outside, and then we have a little bit collision because he tried to stick inside line and then maybe overshoot a little bit and yeah, and that's cost me the chance of overtaking him, but I didn't DNF by that, so I'm still pleased with that one.
Yeah, yeah. You should be very pleased with what you've done today. It was one hell of a race. You gave it your everything, and I don't think anybody's thinking about that time penalty at the end. You've won everybody's hearts. Well done, Terence. You gave it a very good shot today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we move on to Elwain. Elwain, what happened there? At the beginning, you were right in the competition. You had the pace and the dry conditions. But later on, when the rain came along, it just wasn't quite the same. Were you expecting the rain to come along or not, and maybe got the setup wrong?
No, it was difficult because you didn't really know what the weather was going to be like. I did up the ride height a little bit to help with the water on the track if there was rain, but I didn't really set my car up for rain. So, no, I wasn't expecting to have pace, but I made too many mistakes. To be fair, I made a mistake and then had to lift. So, Ginaldi got away, and after that, I couldn't really do anything. Well done to Terence as well, because an extra pit stop is a long time. That's like 30 seconds there. So fair play to Terence for doing that. But yeah, for me, it was too many minor mistakes and going wide and stuff. But that's just racing, to be fair. But it was a good race, really good race, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you're still leading the championship after this one, so it's not like you've lost it. I think you've got to thank Yanodi for winning the race over Terence, because that's going to help out a little bit. But it's still a long season to go, and you'll be absolutely fine. So thank you very much, Owen. You gave it a very good shot, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we move on to go through the list. We'll move on to Yanoldi next. Yanoldi, what a race. You've done it again this season. Another victory. Perfect stuff there. It didn't look easy at all. Were you confident that you'd have it at the end there with the track position?
No way. Terence was so quick and he had better tires. In the dry he was flying and in the wet he was flying. All I could do is defend, and yeah, he did one move on the outside. I shot a little bit through and we collided a little bit. But yeah, that's the part of racing. But yeah, it was a cracking race. It was a really difficult race. Also to manage the tires, they go off so easily here. But yeah, in the end, I'm happy.
Yeah, it was a really, really good race, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you did too. You're now, I'm trying to calculate things, you've gained 6 points on Elwain, so you're now, is that me not doing my maths correctly, 18 points away from the championship lead. Do you think you can do it? Do you think you can win the title?
Everything is possible. I push as hard as I can. But the most threat comes from Terence, And if they fight and they make mistakes, I will happy to take it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, Yunodi. Very well done today. Congratulations, and we'll see you next
Yeah,
time.
thank you. You also thank you for the great comps.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Hey, have a nice one.
You too. And we move on. I think that's it. No, we've got Yellow Egg. I forgot. One more interview. I got all confused with the list of drivers that just all of a sudden came along. Some of them don't want interviews, but we start or finish with Yellow Egg. Yellow Egg, that was a tough one. Another very tricky condition race, but completely opposite. Let's go to qualifying though. That was awesome.
Yes, same time as Elwi, no, as Yanaudi, and I messed up last corner, so it hurt, but it didn't matter because we messed up strategy. So you know, but yes, I didn't expect this lap time to be that high. You know, it could be P2 even. It was same time as P2, so yes, I'm happy of it. And yes, in the race, just. I expected that there will be rain, but I wanted to, go mediums to hards and to the end, even with this rain. But then the rain came like 5 laps earlier than I expected, and it cost me. Maybe it depends, on many things, but I think maybe the strategy cost me third place. But it would be difficult to overtake Elwin. Yes, I'm happy.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Especially quali.
Sorry. I hope you're not offended by the fact that I almost ended the stream there. Thank you for having patience, and yeah, really good effort today. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much, Yellow Egg. And that's been it. Thank you very much for watching. A bit of a mess in the end for the stream. I do apologise, and apologies also for the audio levels in the race. I've just realised that they were wrong. It's done now. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. These guys have driven a brilliant race. We'll see you next weekend for the Brazilian Grand Prix, a sprint event that will be one to watch. Bye bye.